Brilliance Audio presents The Way to a Man's Heart by Debbie Macomber. Performed by Nancy Peterson. "Are you ready to order?" Meghan O'Day asked the man with the horn-rimmed glasses who was sitting in the booth beside the window. The gentleman was busily reading. Meghan withdrew the small tablet from inside the pocket of her starched apron and patiently waited for his response. At her question, the reader's gaze reluctantly left the page of his book and bounced against her briefly. "The chicken pot pie sounds good." "Rose's pot pies are excellent," Meghan said with a congenial smile. She noted that even before she'd finished writing down his order, the man had returned his attention to his reading. She grinned, not offended by his lack of notice. Some customers were chatty and openly friendly, while others preferred to keep to themselves. Meghan didn't mind. It was her job to make sure the clientele was served promptly and their needs seen to efficiently. Since Meghan was an avid reader herself, she didn't fault this gentleman for being more interested in his book than in ordering his meal. Currently, only a handful of customers dotted the diner, and the chicken pot pie order was up within a few short minutes. The reader, with his nose buried between the pages of his book, barely looked up when Meghan delivered his food. "Is there anything more I can get for you?" she asked, automatically refilling his coffee cup. "Oh, nothing, thanks." As she moved to turn away, Meghan noted that it was Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales that had captured his attention so completely. Excitement surged through her bloodstream. Meghan herself was a devoted lover of classical literature. She set the glass coffee pot on the table and gave the reader a second look. Not bad. In fact, he was downright handsome. He glanced up at her expectantly. The only thing Meghan could do was explain. Chaucer is one of my favorites." "Mine, too." A slow, endearing smile eased across his face. He glanced down at the page and read in a clear, strong voice. "Befell that, in that season on a day, in Southwark, at the tabard as he lay, ready to wenden on me pilgrimage, to Canterbury with full devout courage," Meghan finished reverently. His face revealed his surprise. If she hadn't earned his attention before, she received it in full force now. "You know Chaucer?" Meghan felt a little silly and shook her head. "Not personally." Her fellow Chaucer fan didn't so much as crack a smile at her attempt at a joke. To her way of thinking, he was much too young to take life so seriously. But then she was only a waitress, not a psychologist. "You're obviously familiar with his works." He frowned slightly and studied her as though he expected to recognize her, but didn't. "I've read it so many times that I've managed to memorize small portions of it. I guess you could say that Chaucer and I have a nodding acquaintance." He chuckled at that and planted his elbows on the table, grinning up at her. "So you enjoy reading Middle English?" "I'll confess it was difficult going at first," she said, feeling mildly guilty for interrupting his meal. "But I stuck it out, and I'm glad I did. Frankly, when I read it aloud the first time, it sounded a whole lot like Swedish to me."